Sports Professor Rick Horrow, welcome to Beyond the Scoreboard, the show that goes inside the trillion-dollar business of sports, business, law, deal-making, marketing, all of the issues that fuel the business. All we see is on the field, but there is, as we know, a whole lot more. And we're ready for a big-time December based on primarily football. We've got the annual debate over who's in and who's out and how many teams there should be as far as the college football playoff. The NFL coming down to the last quarter before their playoffs start, NBA, NHL intensifying, even golf talking, and NASCAR with their awards, and on and on. Bottom line is this is a busy time, even busier than normal, as people turn their philanthropic efforts to the holidays. We'll cover some of that too. If you want all of our list of the top 15, go to at Horrow Sports, at Rick Horrow, NBCWashington.com, a whole bunch of places, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Audio Boom, Stitcher, iTunes feed, and a whole bunch of different places. We've got it all in one place, including the power of sports and sports tech, and please don't miss it. It's a big, big time right now. And speaking of big, big time, 40 games, about $1.5 billion economic impact, 78 of the 129 Division I college football teams have made it. It's bowl season. By the way, of those 40 games, we usually talk about the mediocrity and how some 5 and 7 teams have made it and what the criteria is for getting them into that event in the tournament. Interestingly, it's graduation rate. But this year you don't have to do that. In fact, 82 teams were eligible for 78 spots. Those 4, usually you win 6 and you're in. Not this year. Controversy at the top. But let's remember that writers and coaches voting for the respective national championships since 1954. Remember that? A split vote co-champion 11 times. The national championship vote split between coaches and writers since they began voting for the national championship then. And the Bowl Coalition began in 1992. The Bowl Alliance attempted to improve that system 3 years later. The Bowl Championship Series began in 98. Now the playoff. The Swiss conglomerate ISL proposed a 16-team college football playoff around that time. Colleges immediately rejected it. But the $350 million annual payout would have been twice the amount paid for each of the first 10 years since the beginning of the BCS. It never, ever changes. But what does impact it? Everybody talks about these issues, who's in, who's out, and why. And about 400,000, the estimated number of fans at the college conference championship games over the weekend, even more. Arlington Stadium, AT&T, watched Oklahoma battle Texas. What a game. And Levi Stadium in Santa Clara watched a pretty lackluster Pac-12, only about 35,000. The CBS ratings, even better. The Alabama-Georgia game, the highest regular season game on any network in 7 years. Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, we know they're in. Ohio State, Georgia, UCF, we know they're out. We'll talk to Danny White in a minute, the athletic director at UCF, taped before this week, and he'll talk about what was at that point 23 wins in a row, and the machine doesn't stop, even with Mackenzie Milton on the sidelines. Hope he can ever play again. With all the proof of college football's wild popularity, it's clear that each season inches closer to an 8-team playoff in college football. It's really basically no longer if but when. And in the meantime, what about this? Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl. Is it really a thing? Yeah, it's real. So is the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl, Academy Sports and Outdoors Texas Bowl, Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl, and the Cheez-It Bowl. How about that? The 41 bowl matchups announced by the NCAA on Sunday, 80 teams, the January 7 National Championship. Only 2 teams do not carry a corporate title or presenting sponsor, cementing the fact that bowl games have become corporate billboards rather than a showcase for regional agricultural pride. New logos on bowl game programs include Jarrett, title sponsor of the December 22 Jarrett Birmingham Bowl, without a title sponsor since 2014 when BBVA Compass bowed out, and travel site VRBO just days ago reached a deal with ESPN and Florida Citrus to become the title sponsor of the VRBO Citrus Bowl in Orlando on New Year's Day. Kentucky and Penn State, not a bad game. The good news for all of these brands, broadcasters, and football fans, the bowl berths in 2018, a 6-6 record, unlike last year, no losing team. We've covered that already. How about Phoenix? We'll get into that in a minute, or precisely Glendale. PlayStation extends its naming rights sponsorship of the Fiesta Bowl, and they do a multi-year deal with ESPN. PlayStation held naming rights for the bowl since 2016 as part of a 2-year deal. Financial deals weren't disclosed, but the multi-year deal says PlayStation becomes the official gaming and virtual reality sponsor of the CFP and its New Year's Six bowl games. The audience insights say that college football fans more interested in video games, more likely to play them, and more likely to stream sports through a gaming console than the average person, says the ESPN VP of Sports Marketing, Rob Temple. Before PlayStation, Fiesta Bowl enlisted Battle Frog, Vizio, Tostitos, IBM, and Sunkist as its title sponsors. This year's PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, 11 LSU and 8, we'll talk about them in a minute, UCF, played at State Farm Stadium in Glendale on New Year's Day, a $17 million payout. Talk about UCF, 25 wins in a row, undefeated. Danny White, the athletic director, quite a history. His brother coaches University of Florida basketball. His dad, the AD at Duke. Obviously, the Thanksgiving table conversations and Christmas table conversations, pretty stout. We talk about that in the interview. Let's talk about how somebody who, in his words, has been left out of a process that rewards invitations in advance rather than on the field. How does he deal with his situation of being part of the system, but in many ways not part of the system? I give you Danny White.
Athletic Director Extraordinaire, it says pedigree family, but you're doing it on your own. Danny White, how are you?
Doing great. Excited about this game tonight against Temple.
Absolutely. We taped this, and this is going to evergreen, so 20 in a row may become 25. And so, first of all, the whole notion of the national championship defense and the marketing plan around it and the increased merchandise and the donors, it's a great marketing device, right? Very successful.
It's really rallied, I think, our alumni base nationally and certainly the community of Orlando. We sold 10,400 new season tickets going into this year, so our fan base is growing really fast, and our whole university community is excited about the success of our football team for sure.
Is there as you budget and as you plan, there's always the discussion about Power Fives and everybody else. How do you do your 15, 20-year plans when next year is up for uncertainty as well, from a business perspective, a planning perspective?
Yeah, we're scheduled already next year. We don't believe that there's a Power 5 around here. We think if there's a Power anything, it's a Power 6.
Right. That's a Resco's term, basically, right? Is that kind of?
I think our teams across the conference have shown that on the field over 5 years. But next year we have we return our game to Pittsburgh for a non-conference Power 6 game. We have Stanford at home. I'm working on schedules for 20 and 21 and beyond right now. Certainly, the more success our team has, candidly, it is harder to schedule.
And how important is the Spectrum Stadium and the 7,000 seats and the dimensions of this place as far as revenue and also ease of schedule and credibility?
It's really important. Our university has made significant investments in building an on-campus stadium and launching a Division I athletic department. You do that to build the pageantry and revelry and alumni affinity, all the traditional things that come out of an on-campus college football environment. And you'll see that tonight. You'll see 12,000 students having a great experience. So having a good home schedule is very important to us.
Just commercially, again, business perspective. So I guess Air Alaska kind of broke the mold, and then United Airlines, and everybody was talking about the blasphemy of naming a facility after a corporate sponsor. There's enough room for the donor and the sponsor at the same time. Where is that whole notion going, and was there a problem here, or was it the right answer with Spectrum?
Since we opened the stadium, it was Bright House Network Stadium. Yeah. Bright House got bought by Spectrum, and we're proud to have Spectrum's name on our stadium. It's a big-time big-time growing brand in Orlando, but obviously nationally. I think it's a part of doing business. We have to generate revenue to support our student athletes. We make money in college athletics really off of, in most instances, two sports. For us, it's football and men's basketball. But then we spend dollars in an egalitarian way across 16 sports to provide a world-class student athlete so we can be competitive and compete for national championships.
And I assume you're proud of the graduation rate relative to other schools, not only in Florida, but around the country.
No question. Any academic metric you look at, our student athletes are competing in the classroom. GPA, academic progress rate, we're really proud of their accomplishments.
So next economic frontier, two issues that are probably distant. So gambling and alcohol. Where are colleges and where are you all in both of those?
We currently allow alcohol in our premium spaces.
Yeah.
And we are expanding premium spaces. It's what the corporate community here in Orlando wants. We're sold out in all of our club seats. We just added loge seats this year. They sold out almost immediately. The field cabanas, which we did last year, and then on the other end zone this year, is a really unique product. So there's alcohol available in all the premium areas. Our philosophy is, one, when half of the student body isn't of age, we don't feel comfortable offering it up to the whole stadium because of the students. And we also want to create a family-friendly atmosphere. We want 8-year-olds and 12-year-olds in our stadium, and sometimes people don't handle it as responsibly as we'd like.
Well put. So Mississippi, Associate AD, Buffalo, here. Those are three dynamic, different kind of programs. SEC, Buffalo, and here. What compare and contrast?
What they all have in common is they all had significant upside. When we were at Ole Miss, we talked about, if you want to be competitive in the SEC, here's what you need to do as a fan base. And the fan base really stepped up, and we built a lot of facilities. And the plan there was, you're already in the conference you want to be in, but you hadn't been competitive. And let's talk about how we do that. At Buffalo, the flagship university of the state of New York, there's just tremendous upside at that university, and I really enjoy the work we're doing there. But having said that, there's not more potential at any athletic department in the country than this one right here, because of our inherent competitive advantages from a recruiting standpoint. Obviously, whether a university that really cares and is growing, it's the fastest growing university in the fastest growing city in America, just surrounded by talent in every sport that we play. So I get really excited and energized about working with the community and working with our donors and sponsors to build something, and that's what we're doing here.
That was the best pitch in the history of the world, ladies and gentlemen, and all he got out of this is a little more intense international awareness. No donors. No check is here. Final question for you.
I was about to make the pitch. We need you
don't
to
bother.
step up.
Yeah, don't bother. Go do that down the hall.
Yeah.
So here's the other issue, which is really important. Family competition, Thanksgiving dinner. How do you prorate whether you or your dad win? So a net revenue increase in Duke, and then you got your brother with basketball in Florida. How do you guys decide who comes out on top?
We had FAU here earlier this year.
Yeah.
My brother Brian just got the athletic director job at FAU, and it was miserable for both of us. We don't compete with each other on things related to our jobs. Now, whether it's darts or beach volleyball or something like that, we're very competitive. But we talk a lot and just bouncing ideas off each other to help each other out.
And in all seriousness, your dad has done an amazing job at Duke. It's now football power, and it's incredible.
It's amazing the job David Cutcliffe has done there. It's just been fun to watch, and they've had a lot of donors step up. It's a great story of how philanthropy and philanthropic investments can improve facilities and allow a program to sustain success, and that's exactly what they've done.
Duke, UCF, FAU scheduling down the road?
No, I don't want to play that.
Look, there was one thing that's very clear. That's a no from this guy.
We're playing at FAU to return that game next year.
Yeah, well, that's a different story. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Well, Danny White may be the poster child as UCF, the national champions of 2017, all over their stadium. And yet, we have to see what happens this year as well. LSU is a stout challenge, but look what they did against Memphis without their starting quarterback. It was incredible. We'll have to talk about college football as we go on. That's what makes this great. Last year on Black Sunday, Florida, Nebraska, Tennessee, Texas A&M, and UCLA all fired their head coaches, causing openings at Mississippi State, UCF, Florida State, and Oregon. This year, curtains for Texas Tech's Cliff Kingsbury, UNC's Larry Fedora. Clay Helton survived. Lovie Smith not only survived Illinois, but he got an extension. Chris Ash remains at Rutgers despite 1-11. College athletic administrators realize constant churn rarely breeds success. Perhaps the schools didn't fire coaches because they didn't want to pay the steep price tags. For example, Lovie Smith would have been owed $12 million if they fired him. Buyouts are costly, but they're not yet stopping the likes of Kansas paying Les Miles $2.7 million for 5 years. Heavy incentives. Mac Brown, $3.5 million a year to return to UNC, despite being out of coaching for 5 years. Well, watch UCF, watch the playoff, watch how these coaches work. It is a fantastic time to be a college football fan. Let's go to baseball for a minute. The A's talked about the bottom line of their financial existence, which is a new stadium, a 111-acre Coliseum site in East Oakland they want to control. The Howard Terminal waterfront site they want to build on. That's 55 acres. A deliberate throwback to the early 1900s baseball parks. The building would be nestled amid wedge-shaped high-rises, some as tall as 20 stories, windows looking down on the playing field. The site's too windy for the ballpark to be open on the water, but it would include a publicly accessible rooftop park with sweeping views of the waterfront, Oakland, and San Fran. The club's already put in a $137 million bid to purchase the Coliseum outright, the site. And if the Oakland waterfront site doesn't end up working out for the A's, Portland might be an option for the franchise after the Diamond Project in Portland last week announced an agreement in principle for an MLB-ready park on the Willamette River near downtown. And not to be outdone on the baseball side, rapper P. Diddy teams up with the Dodgers to invest in high school esports platform PayVS. High school esports, how about that? They closed its Series B funding round of $30.5 million from investors that also included Adidas and Samsung. For the Dodgers, the funding round was led by Elysian Park Ventures, the private investment arm of the ownership group. PlayVS gives high school students access to esports competitions and college scholarships. Had already secured $15 million in its Series A funding 5 months prior. The closing of the company's Series B funding round also coincides with the announcement of partnerships with Pisonics, the publisher of Rocket League, and Hi-Rez Studio, which publishes Smite. PayVS also partnering with Riot Games League of Legends to start an inaugural season in February of this year. PlayVS focuses on enhancing students' experience by adding popular game titles and more state associations in order to grow a high school esports audience and attract players interested in other game genres while simultaneously leveling the gaming field for those with accessibility struggles. An incredible idea. It is growing like hotcakes as well as the entire esports world. Let's talk golf for a minute. Tiger Woods and Discovery set golf streaming contest partnership for details that are good for golf. The 750,000 viewers for his match against Phil gave him incentive, and he's inked a multi-year global partnership. The deal offers Discovery and the PGA a significant marketing hook for Golf TV. Plans to stream 2,000 hours of live golf each year, along with on-demand content. Content created with Woods will be available in the U.S. eventually, but international streaming will be the main focus at present. Golf TV plans to show Woods' preparation routines and take viewers behind the scenes of PGA Tour rounds, as well as offering weekly instructional videos and post-round commentary. Bottom line, Golf TV following the success of other niche sports streaming platforms by building a destination for hardcore fans who welcome the idea of watching their favorite athlete spending an hour hitting shot out after shot out of the same sand trap. Well, certainly niche marketing works there. And the PGA Tour has tapped IMG Arena to distribute its official scoring data for media usage and sports betting purposes. The multi-year agreement sees IMG Arena, launched by IMG earlier this month, distribute data to sports media companies, news services, and other organizations worldwide. The deal also gives the firm exclusive rights to sell official data and selected live video of PGA Tour events to international regulated sports betting and gaming markets. The collaboration will support the PGA Tour's integrity program implemented earlier this year to protect the organization from betting-related corruption. IMG Arena providing security and data protection to prevent the unauthorized use of information by outlets licensing PGA Tour data. Commissioner Jay Monahan says creating a bigger, more diverse, more engaged fan base around the world is key to any league's success, and sports betting is how we plan to do that. IMG Arena, now working with more than 250 bookmakers worldwide to provide sports betting-related services such as 24/7 live streaming and on-demand virtual sports products. How about IMG getting ahead of everybody? It is typical, and it is to be rewarded. Let's talk basketball. New Balance basketball comeback is official after signing Kawhi Leonard. The Raptors forward's multi-year shoe deal with lifestyle brand New Balance comes after a stalemate over a long-term extension talk with current endorser Jordan Brand. Leonard turned down a 4-year, $22 million deal with Jordan. He's expected to earn significantly more money than under his new contract, though financial deals have not yet been disclosed. And it's not been confirmed whether Leonard will receive his own signature model or simply become the face of New Balance's new basketball sneaker. New Balance made a big splash in the basketball vertical last month by signing high school player Darius Bazley, a Syracuse recruit and now New Balance intern who will forego college and work toward the 2019 draft of the NBA. We saw that as a very significant issue. And as far as the NBA, it's not just the NBA, but it's also other issues relative to lifestyle brands as well. LeBron James and Lindsey Vonn teamed up with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Cindy Crawford to launch a health and wellness brand. The latter, which is the name of the brand, they call to help people achieve a healthy lifestyle by providing support and guidance from many pillars. World-class advisors and experts will be involved as well. The pillars: content, community, and product, representing different philosophies and different lifestyles. The idea for latter purportedly sprang to life when James suffered severe cramping during the 2014 NBA Finals. When James and his trainer struggled to find a remedy that met LeBron's needs for quality and safety, they set about creating a custom protein powder. And just as sports science leader Embody restores peak performance to weekend warrior orthopedic patients alongside pro athletes, Ladder seeks to bring elite athlete secret sauce to health-minded people everywhere. Well, let's end with soccer because we're heading to the MLS Cup. And kudos, by the way, to Atlanta and kudos to Portland. It's going to be an amazing event in Atlanta. Think of the sellout there, selling out regular season. Can only imagine what Mercedes-Benz Stadium will look like the weekend. And in the meantime, the Houston Dynamos signed on MD Anderson's Cancer Center as the club's jersey sponsor starting next season. The prominent Houston-based cancer center reportedly pays the MLS club about $4 million per year as part of the deal. The Dynamo, the only team in the league without a jersey sponsor this past season, failing to sign one after its previous deal with BHT Billiton expired. Under conditions of the contract, the Dynamo will now donate a portion of single-game ticket sales to MD Anderson and will also offer fans the option to add a donation of their own during the purchase process. And by the way, BBVA Compass Stadium will also become a totally tobacco and smoke-free facility. The plans are being made to add additional healthy concession menu options, honoring the sponsor's work as a health center. The team said this is the first season-long cause-related jersey partnership in MLS history. More immediately grabbing soccer fans' attention, the MLS Cup final this Sunday, as we said, Timbers and FC Atlanta, a big game both on and off the pitch. Well, that's it for the on-field issues and off-field issues for Beyond the Scoreboard this week. I'd like to thank Tanner Simpkins and Dan Martin for putting this podcast together, especially with the hectic week of college football and all the stories breaking the weekend. I'd like to thank Danny White for participating in the interview and lending his support and guidance to UCF during an interesting period. We'd like to thank you for listening and watching and joining us again next time when we go Beyond the Scoreboard.